All right, let's get started. Please label your notes interval notation. And I just want to explain what interval notation is. Interval notation is just another way for you to write your solutions. So far we have found the solution to things and we have graphed them on a number line. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we've taken those solutions that were on a number line and we've written them in inequality notation, which really means that we are writing them with alligator symbols, right? Inequality notation meant alligators. I'm going to show you another way to write your solution today. So what I'm going to do to explain that to you is I am going to compare them to to inequality notation and to writing your solutions on a number line. So what I need you guys to do is, in your notes, draw yourself a number line. And we'll start off with this. Draw a number line, put a dot at -2, shade everything to the left. So we have one shaded area on our number line. I'm going to label that one shaded area with an X. So right now what we have done is represented all of the X values that are what?
Less than -2.
Less than or equal to -2. So we would write it in inequality notation like this. X is less than or equal to -2. But there is another notation you can write it in, and that new notation is called interval notation. So we have a number line. We have inequality notation. Now we're going to talk about interval notation. Now what we need to do is look at your number line. Where does the shading begin? And you always read number lines from the left to the right. Where does the shading begin? At negative. Does it start at -2? Keep going. Negative infinity. Good. It starts at negative infinity.
Is that negative
Infinity. It's shaded all the way to the left. This shading would go on forever and ever and ever and ever far to the left. Does that make sense? I can't show that on a number line because I could never draw my number line long enough to show that it would go on forever. Because what's forever? You know? So the shading begins at negative infinity, and where does it stop?
-2.
It stops at -2. So in interval notation, we do this. Our shading begins at negative infinity, comma, have fun with those infinity symbols because they're more challenging than they look. Starts at negative infinity, it ends at -2. So I go negative infinity to -2. That's interval notation, but there's a few things that we need to kind of clean up. We need to use punctuation with interval notation too. When you use an infinity symbol in interval notation, you always have to include a parenthesis with it. Parentheses go with negative infinity. That means it begins at negative infinity, but since it ends at -2, does it include -2? Is -2 included in this solution?
Yes.
How do you know it's included?
Because it's circled in.
Because it's colored in. So when it's included, you have to put a bracket with it. Now, if there was an open circle at -2, you would not put a bracket there. You would put a parenthesis. Okay? Interval notation. Let's do this. Draw another number line. Label this number line as 5. Put an open circle and shade everything to the right. I'm going to label that shaded region with an X. That's number line notation. What I would like you to do now is put this in inequality notation. What does that mean to you? Inequality notation means alligators. Yes. How do you write this using alligator symbols? It's all the X's that are what? Greater than 5. Not equal to 5 because this circle is open. All right. So where does the shading begin? Look at the leftmost side. Where does the shading begin? 5. Where does it end? Infinity. So we go 5 to positive infinity. No need to put a positive out front. You just leave it as an infinity symbol. It's assumed that it's positive. What do I put with the infinity symbol?
Parenthesis.
A parenthesis. What do I put with the 5?
Parenthesis.
Why a parenthesis and not a bracket? It's not colored in. It does not include the 5. It's everything after 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's do this. What if I colored in the entire number line?
Negative infinite to infinite.
Where does the shading begin?
Negative infinite.
Very good. Negative infinity. Where does it end?
Infinite.
Positive infinity. So in inequality notation with the alligators, you wouldn't even put an alligator there. You would just do what?
All real numbers.
All real numbers. You would say that. But in interval notation, we say, okay, well, the shading began at negative infinity. It ends at positive infinity, and we always put parentheses with infinity symbols. Let's do another one. What about this? Let's do 2, 5, and 7. How would I do that?
2, 5, 7.
X equals 2, 5, 7. That's inequality notation. What would we do for interval notation? Like this. 2. Starts at 2, ends at 2, right? Does it include 2?
Yeah.
That's colored in. Very good. It also happens at 5. It also happens at 7. But we have these empty spaces in the middle. What do we normally write here in the empty space? Empty spaces mean or. This is the symbol for or. You do this. U. That means or. That U means or. Or it's 5. So we do bracket 5. Or, so what do I write for or? A U. Bracket 7 bracket. 2 or 5 or 7. Let's do this. Let's start our shading at -1, ended at 4 closed circles on both, and let's shade in the middle. You guys have seen this so many times now that you should be dreaming about it at night. You have. What's the matter? You don't dream about math?
No.
So are you saying there's something wrong with me?
No.
This is the shaded region. So -1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. That should be second nature at this point. You should know exactly what to do when you see those. But interval notation is new to you. Where does the shading begin?
-1.
-1. Where does it end?
4.
4. Okay, so it starts at -1. It ends at 4. So we do this. -1, 4. But what do I do with the -1 and the 4?
Bracket.
Brackets, yeah. Put a bracket around the -1. Put a bracket around the 4. All good. All right. Almost done, guys. Let's do -3. Open circle, shade to the left. And let's do 2. Closed circle, shade to the right. Like I said, you guys have seen this so many times that you should be able to very, very quickly put it in inequality notation. In this case, it says x is less than -3, or x is greater than or equal to 2. Interval notation. Interval notation. Where does my shading begin?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity. So I do parenthesis negative infinity, comma. Where does it end?
Negative 2.99.
-3. It's actually not -2.999 because -2.99999999999 would also be included. You know, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So up to -3, parenthesis. Why is there a parenthesis?
It's not -3.
Empty. Yep, open circle. What do I do here with this empty spot on the number line? A U. Very nice. My shading picks up again at 2, so I do bracket 2, comma, and where does it go to?
Infinite.
Positive infinity. Finish your parenthesis. I have one more example, and then I'm going to stop talking. Aww. Try that again. One more example, and then I'm going to stop talking.
Oh.
All right, let's do -4, color in the circle. Let's go up to +2, color in the circle. Shade in between. And then 1. Let's do 1. Not 1. That doesn't make sense. 10. Make it 10 instead. My number line's not proportional. And also, let's do 12, open circle, shade to the right.
Oh, that's nice.
It is nice. All right, so inequality notation first. I have -4, less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2. Hopefully you're okay with that. I have an empty spot. Or, what about that dot at 10?
X.
X equals 10, empty spot, or everything shaded to the right of 12. That means all the x's that are greater than, x is greater than 12. And now what we need to do is put it in, what is this notation called? Inequality notation. It has alligators in it. Now we need to do an interval notation. Where does the shading begin? -4. It ends at 2. What punctuation do I use with the -4 and the 2? Brackets. -4, 2. Or U. What do I do about that 10? Bracket. Bracket 10 bracket. Or parenthesis 12, comma, infinity. Very nice. Got it? It's not that bad, is it? Actually kind of fun, maybe?
Yeah. So
Who invented that? You?
the best.
I did.
Really?
No.
You're awesome.